night. It is the evening of February 23rd, 2026. Hope everybody is having a good night. Already getting some comments here on TikTok. There's the goat. And hopefully everybody's having a great evening. Daniel, what's up, bro? Miltos, hey man, how's it going? When Pumps, Will, I love you, dude. Gavin, I love you too, man. Thank you so much. When Pump, not now. That's for damn certain. So tonight, everybody, we're going to be taking just a quick look at markets overall. Right now, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We'll take a look at the stock market because that's starting to break. It's not looking good for the stock market. Hello, Gold Bid. Good night, Leonidas. Leonidas Enrique Mora Rivello. God damn, what a name. Boy, oh boy, this market is horrendous, brutal. It sure is, guys. So typically, I do this for a whole hour or an hour and a half or so. I'm without Doug, and I'm very tired, and my throat's a little scratched up from speaking at ETH Denver, and just talking with people. So we're gonna make this quick, and I have like work I have to do tonight still. Disgusting. I know. Where's the Gwump? Hey, I got it right. So yes, Daniel, we do have market macro data available to us this week. So those of us, before we dive into the market, on Calvin came in. Yeah, fake Calvin. Just tell me when pumps next month, next year. Maybe at some point this summer. Maybe at some point at the end of this summer is what I think. But anyway, everybody, this week is an important week from a macro standpoint. Parsa, I see you have a question. I will get to you in just a second. Just hold on. So this Wednesday, NVIDIA, and I know it's pronounced NVIDIA. I just don't like saying it that way. And my main accent likes to put U's in things, okay? So NVIDIA has their earnings call on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we get PPI inflation data, okay? Keep your eyes out on those two things. If the earnings report for NVIDIA is terrible, expect the stock market to really tank hard. Expect that to slide into Bitcoin. The PPI inflation data is good on Friday. You know, maybe something positive could actually happen. NVIDIA, you goddamn right. Clarity Act won't drive it. Thoughts? Clarity Act won't do a damn thing for price. It's not like the Clarity Act will suddenly unlock, trillions of dollars, right, or billions of dollars. Overall, it'll be a good thing long term, but it's not like there's an avalanche of money just waiting to dive in once the Clarity Act provides some clarity as to what part of the government is going to be overwatching crypto and all that. So without further ado, I'm going to dive into Bitcoin. Coach Ty says different about the Clarity Act, which probably means you should believe the opposite. I feel in very good standing knowing that Coach Ty thinks that the Clarity Act is going to bring a whole bunch of money into the space. Good for all of us. I'm going to pull up Bitcoin on the big screen here over on YouTube and Twitter, and I'll show it for everybody here on TikTok in just a second. So Bitcoin today broke a pretty key level of support, and that was, let's see, let me just draw my line here, $65,000. Now, for the folks over here on TikTok, here's what we're working with, right? Bitcoin's been in this consolidation range, and it had a daily candle close below this range of support. And now it is currently acting as our resistance. And this is like a clear short-term sign to us that at the very least, we're going to retest these lows. And most likely, we're going to retest this, this line of support here. I just realized the folks on TikTok couldn't see. The other thing, too, is the stochastic RSI right here is screaming at us that we have several days to go of selling, okay? So if you have an active short, congratulations! If I were to do my best peanut impression. Congratulations! You're winning. And I have a short open on Solana, and it's winning. Hooray for us. And I also buy Bitcoin every single day, so I'm a fan of that. Now, this purple line, let's just clean up this chart real quick here, is a line of support going all the way back to, let's just say December of 2022, maybe January 2023. And we're coming down and we're about to retest this line. Now, this is a fairly natural place to maybe expect a bounce here. And then I would kind of expect it to be a bearish break. Or in the most bearish scenario, maybe we hug this and then experience a lower level here. But either way, there is the potential possibility here for Bitcoin to have a bounce at around $57,000. Okay. So very long line of support that we're falling towards right now. Now that we just broke the key support area today, that's going to challenge either the lows at 60,000 or a further dip below at 57,000. And if we pull up the 3-month chart, this is do some really long-term analysis here. And let me show it so that the folks on TikTok can see as well. Here's Bitcoin on the 3-month chart. And let's just simplify this, right? If in the next month, 1 month and 8 days, Bitcoin's price ends below the 21 exponential moving average here, which is sitting at $59,600, then this says that this line will break and we're going to head down to about $29,000, $30,000. That's the general rule of thumb. Now, let me paint a little bit more of a bullish picture. In the past, we've had breaks of the 21 exponential moving average on the 3-month chart before, and it has not had really major breaks. In fact, it also happened again right over here. It doesn't have major falls below the 21 exponential moving average on the 3-month chart. So that gives us some hope that we could find support sooner. You could find support right in this batch of price action here. And that could be Bitcoin finding support closer to like $44,000, $45,000, right? There's a general rule of thumb that we have that when you break a key exponential moving average, typically you fall to the next one. However, it does appear that on the 3-month chart, this one we're looking at here, that is not the case. At least it hasn't been for Bitcoin historically. And granted, you know, Bitcoin's 55 EMA didn't exist back in 2022. But still, if it did, you know, it's just a general rule of thumb, it would have been, you know, somewhere around, we're just going to eyeball this. It would have been somewhere around $3,000 and Bitcoin never went there. Okay. So that's just like an absolute doomsday scenario. But if we look at this historical trend, support should be higher than that. It should be something closer to like $43,000. Okay. And that's what we're looking at for Bitcoin. Again, just to let everybody know the key points to look at here. $60,000 to $57,000 is an area of a lot of short-term support. And there is the potential for us to bounce there, particularly when you look at the weekly chart, stochastic RSI being very oversold. There's a chance here that we could bounce, and also the 200-week simple moving average is also sitting at right at $58,000. So that should be oh, Daniel, we'll take a look at the liquidity heat map too. I haven't looked at it in a few days, so I think that's a really good idea. But just from a TA standpoint, we are absolutely heading down to $58,000, $60,000, and then we're going to test all of the support that we have here to see if Bitcoin can bounce or if it's really going to continue to fall. Another general rule of thumb for those looking at the big screen here, and I will show it as well before we move to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, is that when you have price action here that is clearly falling as much as it is, you're trying to find areas of support. But the thing is just like with gaps, just like with fair value gaps or imbalances, price action likes to fill empty space. And there's a lot of empty space here for Bitcoin between current price and, I mean, really $29,000. I'm not saying we necessarily have to go that low. I'm just saying that price likes to go down and fill stuff. What headphones them is, cuz let's see, these headphones are Roadcasters. Yeah, they're just from Roadcaster, but they're nice. And no, that's Gwump. No, wait, that's a dolphin noise. No, there's a ding for you. You get points. All right, let's pull up the Bitcoin liquidation heat map and see how insiders are potentially going to be making the most amount of money. Bitcoin liquidation heat map. And I have not looked at this in a minute. So let me see. Oh, I got to sign in. Hang on. They're making me sign in. They want my data. You used to be able to do this without giving them your data. And here we are. Okay, let me share my screen on the big screen. And let's see. I know I'm logged in. Liquidation heat map. Model 1. Let's go to the 3-month chart here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I heard Satoshi was mentioned in the Epstein files. Guys, don't believe everything. Don't believe everything, guys. Here we go. If we take a look at the 3-month chart, there's clearly more liquidations to the upside. We are clearly seeing that there's more shorts to be liquidated. Let's zoom out a little bit more. Go to the 6-month chart here. And yeah, clearly the financial incentive is higher. Let's zoom out again. Zooming out again, yes. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at Binance. And we're looking to see where the most amount of money is being made depending on where price moves. So these liquidation zones are where positions that are using 10x leverage or more are going to be liquidated. So there's not much to the downside. But let us go to Symbol and let's take a look at what liquidations are for below 10x leverage. Still more so to the upside. Let's do it to the 1-year chart. Yeah, still more to the upside as well. Hang on a second. Let's take a look at, oh wait, no, is that, hang on. I was looking at the wrong thing. So when you click Symbol on the liquidation chart, you're actually not looking at Binance anymore. You're looking at averages across all exchanges. And it's actually better to look at Binance. So let's go back to what we were looking at. 3-month chart, less than 10x leverage. So there's still a good amount of money to be made for Binance if the market is sent down to $54,000. Then you do have a blank space, but look at that. The last liquidation levels we have here are $44,000. Now, the incentive in the market is clearly to go higher. There's clearly more money higher up to liquidate if Binance could manipulate the markets to do that. Let's zoom out a little bit further and get an even more macro look. And yes, we can see that Bitcoin down to about $50,000 still makes Binance a good amount of money. In fact, even a fall down to $44,000 is where the liquidations stop. Okay. So that's where the incentive is in the market. It's clearly like Binance and all the exchanges clearly make more money if the market goes higher up, but there's still an opportunity for them to liquidate some longs if the market falls down to 51,000 or even $43,000. And once or if that happens, the financial payday to allow any market makers at Binance or any centralized exchanges to really profit off of that kind of goes away. Will, when we go up, so if this is according to the traditional 4-year cycle, right, the top happened right as it, air quotes, should have happened, right around October to December. That's the typical timeline for a 4-year cycle. I personally did not think it was going to happen. I was wrong. Here we are. And so if we are on a typical 4-year cycle, Bitcoin won't find a bottom until this summer. And that's the typical timeline of how things work. It's not the middle of the summer or the end of the summer. It is the middle or the end of the summer. And then Bitcoin consolidates, starts going sideways, and starts ticking up a tiny itsy bitsy bit. But the thing is altcoins will still go down. They'll still go down, and it won't be until a little bit of confidence starts to show in Bitcoin that some of the altcoins will start to pick up a little bit. So if we go by traditional Bitcoin 4-year cycle theories, whether you want to believe it or not, that would say middle of the summer. I don't know how they can go down more. I have expressed that thought and feeling in several bear markets, my friend. Several bear markets. You can always go lower. Why is gold and Bitcoin dropping right now, please? Well, gold is overbought and Bitcoin is just sad. But if you want to get my real opinion, gold is overbought. So it just makes sense for it to be selling off a bit. Hey, I was just giving a cowboy hat and a mustache for folks on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. I'm sorry, you didn't see that. It's glorious. But the reason why Bitcoin's been selling off is because most people look at Bitcoin as a speculative asset, not as a store of value. So as times have become more uncertain over the past year, really October, so 6 months or so, people have sold Bitcoin because they view it as a speculative asset, not as a store of value. Parsa, what is your question? What's my average Bitcoin input? If by that you mean what is my average buy, I buy $2, excuse me, not $2, but 2 cups of coffee worth of Bitcoin every day. I was buying 1 cup of coffee, but then I set a rule for myself that once Bitcoin fell below 70,000, I would buy 2 cups of coffee. And I think that if Bitcoin falls below 50,000, I think I'll start buying 3 cups of coffee of Bitcoin every day. And I just have that going every single day, just for shits and giggles, because it makes me feel good and I like it. And then I have a whole bunch of stablecoins that are earning interest right now across USDC, USDG, and the Euro stablecoin. Bitcoin is overpriced. I don't think Bitcoin's overpriced, but it's just that I think the stock market's going to tumble. Oh, that reminds me. I wanted to show the stock market because it looks like it's going to tumble. I've been talking about the stock market falling for a little bit now, and I'm sharing my screen on the big screen. And let me share. Oh, also, is Aerodrome a good buy? I don't think it's a good buy right now, but I do like Aerodrome. Also, just FYI, if you own Velodrome or Aerodrome, they're merging. So Aerodrome and Velodrome are no longer going to be separate projects. They will merge, and there will be a token migration. Also, Parsa, here's your question. Would you think a new all-time high session would appear after the midterms, so they would pump it then? I would temper expectations around us seeing highs around or just after midterms. It wouldn't make much sense to me right now, given where the stock market is and given where Bitcoin is, to suddenly see all-time highs by November, particularly because it looks like Bitcoin's going down and we don't have any confirmed bottom formation in any way, shape, or form. So timing-wise, being at all-time highs around or just after the midterm elections makes zero sense to me based on where we are from a technical analysis standpoint. And Mr. Robot Steckler, you're right. Also, war. So let me show you guys the stock market here. Oh, wait, I saw another question about the liquidation heat map. How this works, please explain how liquidation works. Traders don't close trades. So Goldbid, how liquidations work is it only happens in margin trading. So this is when you go to an exchange and you borrow money. So let's say you have $100 and you're going to say, I'd like to borrow 10x leverage. So you have $100, the exchange gives you $900. You now have $1,000 to gamble with, if you will. And so because you're using 10x leverage, every 10%, let's say you place a long, you place a 10x long, your answer lagged while explaining. Oh, I'm sorry, Parsa. But you place a 10x long and price goes up. So it goes up 10%. You have now doubled your money. 10 times 10 is 100. You've doubled. If that goes in the opposite direction by 10x, or excuse me, by 10%, you have now lost your entire position. Your position is liquidated. So however much leverage you have taken, you multiply that by the percentage gain. And if it hits 100%, then your position is liquidated or your position was doubled. Now let me show you guys the stock market on the daily time frame. I have gone over this in videos. You can see that we are clearly rounding over. Oh, we are clearly in this like rounding over pattern. And today we had a big oopsie whoopsie daisies on the stock market, which is we broke, and actually let me get rid of the imbalance indicator. We broke the 55-day exponential moving average again. And if we pull up our indicators here, we can see that the Moxie indicator is very, very bearish. And actually, let's also throw on the MACD for the shits and the giggles. And we can see that we are not in oversold territory. We're not in oversold territory. We have bearish momentum, and we also have bearish momentum. Okay, let's go to a longer term time frame, get rid of some of the noise. We're still just above some support here. So if the stock market breaks 6,007, let's say 6,800, then you will see a fall in the stock market that is worth at least 5.26%. And you can see that bearish momentum is growing here on our MACD. You see that bearish momentum growing. You can see that we are nowhere near oversold territory. We have just started to enter oversold territory, but that's not a bottom indicator yet. And you can see that the stock market is starting to roll over. And I saw the comment here. I thought it was going to rip. I would imagine that has to do with the ending of the IEEPA tariffs, which is really the most fun way to call them. The Trump tariffs, like at T&T, it's very phonetic, but IEEPA is just so fun. And so these tariffs were recently deemed to be illegal by the Supreme Court. But then Trump just put into place the oh, Magic, I just saw your request. Can you look at Ethereum on the 3-month chart? Could we see a sub 1K ETH? Magic, we'll take a look at Ethereum in just a second, brother. And but the thing is like tariffs right now, after Trump put in place the 15% tariffs across the board, aren't that different than what they were after the Supreme Court. And I wrote this down not too long ago. Yeah, here we go. So like the European Union's tariffs, some of their products were over 15%, some were below 15%. Now it's a 15% tariff across the board. It was pretty much a net neutral change. India was at 18%. Now they're at 15%, basically the same. Indonesia was at 19%. Now they're at 15%, basically the same. Japan and Turkey were already at 15%. Malaysia was at 19%. Now it's at 15%, basically the same. Taiwan, Vietnam, and China were all at 20%. Now that's at 15%. Although to be fair, China also had like a bunch of additional tariffs on top, so it actually wasn't 20%. The only real benefactor here is that Brazil was at a 40% IEEPA Trump tariff, and now it's down to 15%. So the only real big winner out of all this, I mean, everybody had their tariffs get reduced, but like it's U.S. businesses who are importing goods in from Brazil. Those are the only folks who really kind of won there. So everyone was like, hey, if the Supreme Court rules that Trump's tariffs are illegal, that'll cause things to rip, right? It's going to be good for the private sector. It's going to be good for businesses. Businesses might even reduce prices of goods some, but with the 15% tariffs being added on top, there's really nothing new. It's just slightly better. So if we take a look at the stock market, then we see that rounding over there, and the removal of tariffs, but then the addition of these tariffs really doesn't change anything. So coffee prices might be going down. I mean, yeah, coffee that comes out of Brazil would come down, but most of the coffee producing nations still had just about a 15% tariff. So just FYI. So, lol, Michael Burry right about everything yet again. Yeah, but Michael Burry, the person from The Great Short, he's been wrong about a lot of things. So, if you keep setting shorts, eventually you will be right. Let's see. Oh yeah, Bitcoin's starting to show a little bit more weakness again. Yes, Magic, you asked to take a look at Ethereum. So let's take a look at Ethereum. Let me share my screen on the big screen. And let's see. Oh gosh, my Ethereum chart is disgusting to look at. Give me a second. It looks like one of Bullish Babe's charts with just lines all over the place. Let's clean this up. Hang on a second. Let's go to the monthly chart here. And also, Magic, you asked for us to look at the monthly and the 3-month chart. So let's do that. Hang on, let's clean this up. We'll take a look at Ethereum. Okay. Which leverage percentages do you use usually? I'm still experimenting with leverage, but I think 5% leverage is good for me. I've done 50%. I did 50x. I did 100x. I've done 20x. I did 10x. I did 30x. I did 8x. I did 2x. And I think 5x is a good leverage for me. I'm a swing trader. I like looking at like the weekly chart, setting a bet, and even if I'm not right immediately out the gate, like I can see like the longer term trends. And so anything past 5x leverage just kind of is like a bit too dangerous for me. And I've had some success with like some day trading with like 20x, 30x, 50x. But I've also had some losses where I was like, this isn't really worth it for me. And I'm not really having fun doing it either. It's just making it stressful. But hang on a second. I see some questions. We'll get to them in a moment. So let's take a look here at Ethereum. So we're looking at Ethereum on the monthly time frame. And we've had a very clean, oh my God. Look at this. If we zoom in here, we should have seen this shortcoming when last month's candle closed below the 55-month exponential moving average. That would have told us to expect a fall on the monthly chart. Now, we still have 4 days to go. We have found support where? Right about here. So the bottom of these wicks has ended up being an area of support. Let's see if we zoom this out. That's another area of support right here. And not kind of, sort of, but not really. So let's just bring this back. Okay. Let me see if okay. Lovely. I'm glad I did this. So let's see. We had our Fibonacci retracement tool here. Let me see if we go right about here. Hang on a second. Let's find some other areas of support. Let's just see where we can find some areas of resistance. So let's see. Are we happy with this? No, not really. Not really thrilled with this. Okay, let's move this up. Yeah, okay. So we have the bottom here. We have the top here. That's clearly been an area of support and resistance here. It was clearly, yeah, this failed again. Okay, this is right. So let's see. Now let's see. Do we have an opportunity to bounce here? Let's pull our indicators up. Oh my God, super bearish momentum here. We don't have oversold territory yet for Ethereum, so we should expect more selling. Momentum is down. Okay. So we don't have a bottom yet. Let's clean this up for Ethereum. We see a clear bottom here at $872. So let's just mark that on our chart. This has acted as support. We have this line of support as well. But what could we fall to? Let's see. Why did I mark this? Hang on a second. Let's clean this up. Let me see if we can move to the 3-month chart here and see what we can see. So we have 1 month and 8 days left. We broke the key exponential moving average of the 21 EMA right here. Okay, where's the previous high? We have the previous high right over here. That's going to be the place we really want to keep our eyes on. Let's make this white. Let's make this one white as well. I just like having green and magenta be like my major areas of price resistance. Yeah, hang on a second. Because we were in this formation, but it already broke. Like, if this broke again, I mean, really? Like an 854? Here's the thing. If Ethereum in the next month falls below 1,550 for ETH, I mean, you're looking at like $1,000 for Ethereum, like $1,000 to like $900. Because again, we have all of this empty space here. I don't know. I can't say I have like a really good, strong sense about Ethereum. Could we see sub $1,000 for Ethereum? I mean, yeah, we could. If $1,400 doesn't hold for Ethereum, I feel like we have a huge fucking problem. I feel like if $1,400 ends up not holding for Ethereum, you have a big fall in our Ethereum silver friend. I just have a hard time seeing that really happening. It's just weird to think that like Ethereum could be $850. Well, let's see. Let's do a little bit of backwards math. If we go back to Bitcoin for a second, and let's just say that Bitcoin were to fall. Let's see. Where's a good place for Bitcoin? Where's a good place of inflection for Bitcoin? We're at about $48,000. So if we were to fall to $48,000 for Bitcoin, that would be a fall of 24%. So if Bitcoin were to fall 24%, altcoins should fall more. And yeah, Ethereum at like $900 could totally be a thing. It could totally be a thing. I don't know how strongly I feel about it or not, but it just feels weird to say out loud. But like, yeah, it could totally happen. You say there are imbalances further down. Let me see if we have imbalances on. Let me share my screen again. Do we have imbalances on Ethereum's chart? I'm looking at fair value gaps for Ethereum. I want to see if there's anything here we can see. Let's see. Are my imbalances on? It doesn't look like they are. Hang on a second. Daily chart. Now, why aren't my imbalances on? Hang on. Indicator, imbalance. Imbalances, Wolf Trader, more indicators, more trading possibilities. Wait, can I not? Okay, let's get rid of the MACD then, because I guess I don't have. I'm not paying for enough. Here we go. Okay, imbalances are on. Go to the weekly chart. Yeah, the imbalance is higher up, so price should move higher. We do have an imbalance down here at 1,600. We also have an imbalance that never got filled down at 1,230. And we have an imbalance down at $746 that never got filled, and technically also $464. But I don't know, not all imbalances, not all fair value gaps need to get filled. So, yeah, to answer your question, could I see Ethereum below $1,000? Sure, I could. It just feels really weird to say out loud. So, no relief rally before dump. We had a relief rally. It just didn't last very long. And it wasn't much of a relief rally. It was pretty much just like November of 2025 through January of this year. The only place where we could maybe have a relief rally is, let's see, where did I have that trend line? Was $57,000. $57,000 could be an area where you see things bounce upwards, but that's it. Where would it hit an all-time high in Ethereum? I have no idea. No clue. Quick question. So the market volatility that we are seeing right now is due to tariff news. Here's one thing. You will oftentimes see news drop and then the price moves, but that entire time you'll have seen price setting up in a bearish formation or a bullish formation on the chart. And so a lot of times I feel like, and this was one of them, where I'm seeing bearishness on the chart, and then some news comes out, or I see bullishness on the chart and some bullish news comes out, and that news just makes the TA happen. And some other times you have a TA pattern that's set up and the news comes out and it changes things. I would say that probably 70% of the time the TA actually kind of dictates things, and 30% of the time you have the TA get ruined by news. This is one of those instances where I was like, okay, we're in a bearish formation, so things should break bearishly. And then we got news about the tariffs, and you had some short-term market volatility. So yes, that did cause it, but ultimately the setup that you were seeing on longer-term timeframes for Bitcoin in this case ultimately played out. Yeah, of course the TA gets set off, but the last 30 minutes, both gold and Bitcoin were extremely volatile. Yeah, but also remember, a lot of that volatility is due to leverage, right? That's the only reason why these markets are as volatile as they are. It's just because liquidations happen back and forth and back and forth. I would say this market certainly seems to be way harder to trade in the short term right now. It's another reason why I think for leverage trading, you should really only be using 5x and taking a look at short terms, because these markets are crazy. You don't know what tweets are coming out. You don't know what news headlines are coming out. In the short term, it's causing a lot of volatility and a lot of short-term liquidations. Do you think gold could hit a double top? Let's actually take a look at gold. Oh, and then I want to go over one stock with you guys that I think is actually a really good choice. We've been talking about it. It's Circle. Could go back down to its lower levels. Let's see. Gold. Is this the right gold chart? XAU. Whatever. It's gold. Do I think gold could double top? Let's see. Here's gold. Gold in the daily time frame. Let's just clean this up. Let's also go to the weekly chart here. Do I think we're going to double top? This screams to me that we're not going to have a double top, because you just have a massive wick to the downside, a massive wick to the upside. There's a lot of indecision in the market. Pull up our indicators. We're still overbought. We're overbought again. Momentum's positive, but that's something. Let's see. Oh, hey, the MACD is actually switching bullish. Here's if gold holds its current level right now with all of this support sitting at, what is that? 5,126. If this holds, then yeah, you could totally see gold start to challenge its high again, and maybe have an opportunity to go higher, or maybe that ends up being a double top. So to your question, do I think gold double tops? I don't know. From a macro standpoint, there's a lot of reasons for gold to still do well. I couldn't tell you if I think it's going to double top or not, but if this area holds support currently, you could see gold go up to challenge it. That is a bear flag, in my opinion. A bear flag for gold. Bear flag for gold. I don't know if I see it. But that would be your pole. That would be your flag. Here's the issue I feel like with gold being in a bear flag. So the bear flag would be, and let me just get rid of this real quick. The bear flag would be something like, hey, here's, something along these lines, right? Oh, right. So you have your pole right here. You have your flag right here. It's just that you have this like long extension down. So like I wouldn't necessarily call it. I mean, this is definitely in a channel of sorts, and maybe it had a false bullish breakout. Let's see. Let's zoom in a little bit more. See, here's something else that's weird is we're starting to get a long signal flashing on the 8-hour time frame. Look at our Moxie indicator flipping bullish here. Maybe Bitcoin wants to go, or not Bitcoin, not Bitcoin. I wish, but it looks like gold kind of wants to go a little bit higher here. We had a false bullish breakout here, held down by resistance. Held down by resistance here. What you'd want to see is if this long signal stays, you'd want to see gold get up above, hold this, and if it does, you could see a rally here, despite this technically being a rising channel, which tends to break to the downside. The other thing also is you have boom. Let's change this color. So we have this line of support here that broke. So we have a line of bullish support and momentum that broke confidently. You have price moving up, and maybe it's trying to turn this bullish. Bearish momentum won here. Bullish momentum is trying to win here. If this fails, then you are going to have a breakdown here for gold. But I can't say what direction I feel particularly strongly in it right now. Oh, I just realized I was not sharing gold. Oh, can you share on YouTube, sir? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. For those of you who are on YouTube and just saw my face as I talked to the people on TikTok, I apologize. But I'll quickly redo this again. So someone was saying, hey, I think this is the pole and this is the flag. You can clearly see that gold's in this channel. We had a bearish break right here of this line of support. So the bears won here. Currently, the bulls are trying to win. And if you, let's see, tomorrow you want to see gold above $5,235. Or 5,235, 5,240. If that happens, you could have a shot upwards in gold and it can start to challenge its high. Otherwise, if this remains to resistance, then you'll see gold fall down to 4,615. And I would probably expect it to fall to 4,760 to 4,400. But I can't say I have a super strong feeling in either direction. And I'm not going to spend too much time here. Will we be stuck in a 1 to 2 year bear market? I think we're in a 1 year bear market. And then, you buy there and hold a position for a year and a half or so and make a good amount of money, hopefully. That's going to be that. Honestly, I know the markets are down and it sucks, everybody, but this is the time where you do make the most amount of money. Not right now, unless you're shorting. But you do get to buy some things that are dirt cheap. Now, I'm going to share one more thing with everybody. What's your thoughts on Bitcoin over the past hour? No idea. I have to look at Bitcoin in the hour. What state am I located in? The one where the fucking Red Sox kid are fucking great. I live in Massachusetts. So this is Circle on the 8-hour time frame. Circle stock is the issuer of USDC stablecoin, and they have an earnings report coming out in a few days. And you always have a rally heading into an earnings report, and then the earnings report gets released, and it's a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing, typically. But we were in this rising wedge here for Circle, and today it broke it with conviction. Let me just get rid of the imbalance indicator. It broke it with conviction here, and now the breakout target of this is right in this pocket here. So I'm very interested in buying more Circle stock. I put a quick trade in here I bought the long signal here and I sold it up here for a nice little 8 to 9% gain. And I was very happy with that. And now I'm looking at Circle to make a correction down by about 18% or so. And I want to see the stochastic RSI fall into oversold territory. And what I really like about this is A, they keep making a bunch of money, but B, just clean this up. We have a gap on the chart here. 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 And quarter over quarter, they increased revenue by about $150 million. And I think they're going to do the same. So I like Circle. It makes money. I think they're well positioned to continue to make money off of the stablecoin adoption. There are a lot of gaps higher up. It's about to break this bearish formation and maybe have an opportunity to make a double bottom. And if it does, that would be a great buying opportunity. So there are always opportunities in this market, even for people who aren't shorting. And, oh, my stand fell over. Oh, you're from Nova Scotia? Oh, gold bid. I grew up in Maine. So, you know, we're basically brothers. I think I'll go to Boston. I think I'll start a new life. Tired of the sunset. A sunrise would be nice. I mean, hey, Boston's nice. It's really expensive. It's quieter. It's much quieter if you live in like a city. It's much quieter. If you don't live in a city, there's way more going on. How do you deal with crypto gains and taxes in the United States? So you can use an app like you can use CoinTracker or you can use Coinly. There are a bunch of them, and you just plug in your wallets that you do crypto transactions with or make trades, and it will calculate what your taxes were for the year. It'll get your net gains, your net losses, and you just take that and you give it to your accountant, or it'll spit out like how much money you made or how much money you lost. And then you can just take that and put it into, TurboTax if you do it that way, or, what is it? TD America? No, not TD America. Fucking whatever. One of the accounting firms. Dude, you ever been to Hartford? Yeah, I've been to Hartford. I went to the University of Connecticut. I was outside of Hartford for 4 years. Hartford. Can you teach us how to trade? I try my best. I saw the question. What about Solana? That is a great question. We'll do Solana, and then I'll take a few questions, and then we'll call it a day, because Solana's falling into my next general buy zone and area of accumulation. So here is Solana. And let's just clean up the chart. This is Solana on the weekly time frame. And let me see. Okay, folks on TikTok, you can see. Lovely, lovely, lovely. A year left to the bear market. I think we have 6 more months left before we start to find a bottom. But this goes back, I've been shorting Solana for a while now because I've been waiting for it to fill this empty space, right? That's what I've been waiting for. And we're finally starting to fall into this really empty space here between $76 and $42. And if I pull up all of my indicators, I see we're starting to get into really oversold territory here for Solana. We're even starting to get into oversold territory on the relative strength index, which is super rare. I mean, this is actually, according to the relative strength index, this is the most oversold that Solana's ever been in its entire history. So let's pull up the monthly chart. What I would love is to see Solana come back down to this level right here, right? So you have this major inflection point here, major inflection point here, major inflection point here, and come down to $43 or so. I would love Solana at this level, ideally between $43 to $21. If that happens, I am buying as much Solana as I possibly can without also, spending all of the money that I want to buy Ethereum and Bitcoin with. I see that controller, what you playing these days? Dude, I'm not playing much. It's just when I have a buddy who, I have a buddy who still plays Fortnite, so I'll go play Fortnite with him for a little bit. Can't say I care about it too much, but I'll play Fortnite or I'll play Battlefield. But the only game I'm really playing right now is Total War Warhammer 3. But even then, I'm not really playing it too much. I just try to get a few games in every now and again. Hunk be a degen and 10x leverage. I'm doing a 5x leverage short on Solana. If that makes me a degen. Does that make me a degen? I don't think it does. I don't think it does. But that's what I'm looking at for Solana. I think Solana comes down and has a real good opportunity to come down to $41 or so. $41. If it could hold that, let's see. How much of a fall would that be for Solana? How much of a fall? From where we are currently, that'd be 46%. I feel like that would be starting to get into like real bottom territory. Like a $46 Solana. My thoughts on SWI nowadays? I think SWI is one of the few cryptocurrencies. Wait, Magic, were you a Yukon grad too? No way. Hell yeah. What is a decent amount of Solana to have in my portfolio? The amount, entirely up to you. But like, I think a good portfolio for everybody to try to have is have like 40% Bitcoin at least, maybe even more. But 40% Bitcoin I think is realistic. And then have like another 25% of that be made up of Ethereum and Solana. And then at that point, you're left with 35% like other altcoins you could just go and play with. You know, I think something like that is fine. Or have like a 50% Bitcoin, 25% Ethereum, Solana, and then 25% like 3 other or 2 other, you know, riskier altcoins. I think that's totally fine. So however much money you have, you know, go with that. If you don't like Ethereum and you like Solana, then, you know, don't buy it and just have 25% or 30% of your portfolio be Solana, stake it, earn some interest, might as well. Thoughts on SWI nowadays? I think SWI is one of the few blockchains that's gonna stick around for a little bit longer. But I do think this next cycle, you're going to see a mass exodus of layer 1 blockchains. And at the end of the day, you're really just going to have Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche will still be a thing, SWI will still be a thing. And I think Canton. I think Canton remains a thing, but I do think you see a lot of the layer 1s go away. I think you see Hedera really start to slide off and go into the shadows, even though it's already there. I think you see Algorand go into the shadows further, even though it never left it. I think you see Near Protocol start to go into the shadows. I think Stellar sticks around a little bit just because they're like doing some stuff with some businesses. And let's see, who could stick around still? That's kind of it. That's kind of it. I think Toncoin fades away into the shadows. Cardano will always be around, but it will become just continuously less and less and less and less and less relevant. And Kaspa, I mean, I don't really care too much about Kaspa. Like, what's the use case for Kaspa? Like, people mine it and then they sell it. And like, that's all it's really used for, you know? Stellar private payments just came out. We're that team. Hell yeah, Dave. Yeah, the thing with Stellar's interesting. Like, Stellar has a lot of connections with like financial companies, and they just don't talk about it. And if you go on DeFi Llama to track how much TVL is on there, the API of DeFi Llama doesn't work well with all layer 1 protocols. And so I think Stellar kind of sticks around and stays relevant. I also think you have a lot of the XRP fanboys still be like, XLM also starts with X. It good. And I'm going to be like, okay. And then I think that's going to help, you know, like if the price pumps a little bit, you know, the XRP fanboys will buy it. Even though there is, and I cannot stress this enough, zero connection between Stellar and Ripple or XRP and XLM. Zero connection whatsoever. But yeah, I think those are really like the only layer 1s that are really going to remain super relevant. The thing that's going to be really interesting is whether or not layer 2s for Ethereum are going to remain relevant. Because Ethereum just keeps getting cheaper and faster and adding privacy technology. So it's like, outside of Base, just because they have the backing of Coinbase, like what layer 2s are really going to be necessary anymore? And I don't think that we're going to really run into a challenge on that narrative for probably about another 2 or 3 years, because you'll need more upgrades to come for Ethereum. And meanwhile, you know, organizations are still going to need to build on layer 2s to get the transparency, not the transparency, but the throughput and scalability that they need. But eventually there's going to be a point where Ethereum mainnet is good enough. And it's like, what happens to layer 2s? What about Litecoin, man? Litecoin has been an interesting one in terms of like some influencers still really liking it. I don't understand what the narrative is around Litecoin. People are like, it's a faster Bitcoin. And I go, okay, who cares? You know, like, because Bitcoin's just a store of value. So, like, who cares if you have a faster one? If Bitcoin were still being considered to being used for payments, I'd be like, yeah, okay, Litecoin has a play. And that was the case like 6 years ago. But now stablecoins, like stablecoins are the best form of payments. It's not Bitcoin. So like, why would it be Litecoin? I don't understand. I just don't understand the narrative behind Litecoin. Do I still like Chainlink? I do. Can I look at the link chart? I will. I will look at the link chart because, you know, Chainlink always has a soft space in my heart. It's got a soft spot in my heart. Let's take a look. Share my screen on the big screen so we don't have a little whoopsie daisies again like we did before. Let me. Oh, also one of my top 3 L1s, Ethereum, Solana, and then I guess technically Polygon's a layer 1 now, although they call themselves a side chain, but like really they're kind of a layer 2. But I guess it'd be Polygon technically. But Solana, Ethereum, and probably, I guess Sweep. But like, I really want to say Avalanche, just from like, it's Avalanche. So here's Link on the, let's see, what are we on? We are on the 1 month time frame. Clear break. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Would you look at this? So we had a 1 month candle close below the 55 exponential moving average. And so we should have seen this downside. We should have seen this. That would have been the perfect time to set a short a few months ago. And now if we just take a look at this, would you look at this? We can see a clear area of support here at $4.97. That's $4.97. Let's see. Let's pull up our indicators here. We're very oversold. We're not entirely oversold. Momentum is still bearish. Let's go to the 3-month chart. I mean, yeah, like this clearly wants to come down to what is essentially $5. This is just on its way to test the support range at $5. Let's see, how much of a fall is that? That is a fall of an additional 40% or so. So, I mean, every single coin that we're looking at here, it looks like Bitcoin wants to fall an additional 25% or so. And it looks like most of the major altcoins want to fall 35 to 50%, from Ethereum to Solana to Chainlink. And that's it. We are all fucked. Unless you're shorting. Hype, you forgot Hype. Oh my God, you are totally right. I forgot Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is a layer 1. And yeah, so it's Ethereum, Solana, and Hyperliquid. The only thing I don't like about Hyperliquid is, so I had a chance to go to a Hyperliquid event and I got to talk to some people building in Hyperliquid. And the people who are building on Hyperliquid aren't getting any support really whatsoever from the team at Hyperliquid. And so it's like, okay, if like there isn't really a support system in Hyperliquid to help people build stuff, is it really a layer 1 or is it really just a decentralized exchange to do perps trading on? You know, so when people are like, oh, Hyperliquid's a layer 1, I'm like, technically, but people aren't really using it that way. Like people are building there and stuff. And yes, it is. I understand it is a layer 1 and people are building there, but it's not like it's not like that's what Hyperliquid's going to do. Hyperliquid's always going to be, first and foremost, a decentralized exchange for you to do perps trading and to do margin trading, right? That's it. So I will include it. I will include Hyperliquid as my 3rd layer 1. That will be my favorite because I think it's a really good investment option in this bear market. But yeah, that's it. Guys, we're a little bit over time. So I am going to head off into the sunset. I still have to finish up a few things before I go to bed tonight. So that's it. Bitcoin, what's another 25%? Pretty brutal, honestly, another 25%. The game of percentages is tough. But everybody, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I'm sorry for a shorter stream. I do want to let you all know that we'll have Doug again next week, which will be very fun because we haven't had him back in a little while. But thank you, everybody. I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Do good things. Be good people. Make a bunch of money.